That's why Allah says here, you have these issues, and these issues are spiritual in nature, they're moral in nature. Greed, lack of sabr. And the solution to that, Allah says salat. Salat. But and I said, how come our salat doesn't do that? Because our salat is missing what still? It's missing tadabbur, it's missing khushu'. It's missing reflection. That's what it has to gain. That's the real project in the life of a Muslim, I tell you. Our character transformation is in the prayer itself. That is the spiritual healing of a believer. And that is the ultimate project of a believer. How do I become conscious? Because it's very hard for us to turn everything else off. When we say Allahu Akbar, there are processes running in our mind, and they're still running when we say Allahu Akbar. The guy writing code leaves, he hears the iqamah and he hits a slash and he says Allahu Akbar and he's finishing code in the salat. Salat has to be, before we walk into prayer, we have to understand the purpose of that exercise. By design, look at the institution as what it is. Look at what it is. Look at what it makes you do even physically. Look at what it makes you do. It makes you leave the world behind. If you're not, and on the outside, physically we all leave the world behind when we pray. That's a fact. I mean, physically, I'm not making money when I'm praying, and I'm not, playing when I'm praying. I'm not doing any of that. Physically, we're all we're in the same line, we're making the same motions. But internally, we may all be on different pages. Right? That's the salat being talked about. So, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ, and then he adds, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ, and those who are constant, especially when it comes to their prayers. I say especially because it's muqaddam, متعلق بالخبر مقدم. He doesn't say الَّذِينَ هُمْ دَائِمُونَ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ. He says عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Now I translated prayers. But it says prayer. Because the plural of salat is salawat. It's salawat. But the ayah doesn't say الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. It just says صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. The singular is used to refer to the essence of something. It can be used as ism jama', meaning their fundamental prayers, their essential prayers, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Those, the essential prayer, they're constant. They are constant. They're disciplined. With those, they don't dilly-dally with those prayers. And if that discipline isn't there in their life, then of course there is room for other salawat. But the minimal requirement, and the minimal cleansing for a believer, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. And those who in their assets, in their monies, there is a known right. We went straight from prayer to giving. Allah started the passage with greed. Halur, jazur. Shar happens to him, he loses sabr. Then he says, come to salat first. And once you come out of salat, then you will learn the real purpose in your life, and you won't be as clingy with your money anymore. If you're a really person of reflection, then you'll realize that you're going to be gone from here. So you'll make the right investments. And you'll realize that there's rights in the money you've earned to give to others. Salat itself, that it doesn't matter what passage of Quran you recite, it'll remind you that you're going to leave here. There's bigger problems. So you start thinking of the rights of others. لِسَائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. For the one who comes out and asks, and the one that's deprived. Two categories of people. There's somebody who physically comes and embarrasses himself and herself and asks you. They lost a job, they can't pay the bills, the electricity is gone. Husband went away or something, or passed away or something, and they can't help themselves, and it's humiliating to them, but they make a call and say, can I borrow some money, can I have some money? I would really appreciate it. And it really, it hurts the dignity of a human being to want to have to ask. Right? To be put in that position, may Allah keep us all from being in that position. It's a very embarrassing and humiliating position to be in. But if somebody did bring themselves to ask, then don't make them ask again. Don't make them ask again. I'm not talking about the professional beggars that are like pros. But you have a right in your wealth for the mahroom, which means they won't ask, you'll have to go and ask them. You have to be in touch with people around you. You have to know what's going on in your block. You have to know what's going on among your cousins, among your family. We have this concept, this artificial concept of community sometimes, where people come and pray together at a masjid, and they leave. They say salam to each other, maybe the guys play a little bit. We don't know each other's families. We don't know our problems. We don't know if somebody has trouble. We're not close enough that somebody would be comfortable in saying, brother, I have an issue in my family. I need some help. We don't have those relationships. And when somebody does come and ask, we don't know if they're genuine or not because we don't have genuine relationships. That doesn't exist. Behind this ayah is actually a sense of community. You can't establish this until there's a sense of community. And a sense of care for extended family. So it starts with family and then everybody else. You have a cousin who's in need, you have an aunt, you have a distant relative. They live in some other country. Or they live here and you haven't been in touch. Whether they're Muslim or not doesn't even matter. But they're in need. You help. Allah didn't say لِلسَّائِلِ الْمُسْلِمِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. Anyone who asks. Anyone who's in need. وَالَّذِينَ يُصَدِّقُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. And those who confirm the truth in the day of ultimate judgment. Meaning these two things are proof. Salat, and then sadaqah are proof. Salat because you gave up time. You give up time to make salat. And time is an asset. Time is sometimes more valuable than money. And then of course the next major asset we have is our money. You're willing to give both of them up because you know of a much better time and a much better wealth that is coming your way. That's a confirmation that you believe in it. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. And those who, especially when it comes to the punishment of their master, from it they are terrified and they are also really afraid for their loved ones. Ishfaq actually has love in it too. Urdu speakers use shafqat, right? It comes from the same word. Ashfaqa ala actually means I'm afraid for my children. They're afraid of the punishment of their master, but not just for themselves, from others also. Because the word by definition is muta'addi, it's transitive, so it implies for others. They fear of akhirah for themselves and for others. Inna adhab rabbihim. Actually, I should mention this is an important concept. Allah instills in us the importance of giving to others, right, in this passage. Which means you care about others. You care about others that are having trouble. But if you care about them in dunya, why wouldn't you care about them in akhirah? Like if you're worried that they're going to starve here, why wouldn't it worry you that they're going to burn in the akhirah? So your own salvation terrifies you, and their salvation terrifies you too, it worries you too. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّهِمْ غَيْرَ مَأْمُونَ. And no doubt the punishment of their master is not something that anybody can be safe from. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. And those who, especially when it comes to their privates, they guard them, they watch themselves. Now Allah mentions shame. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. They're not shameless people. And Allah adds a why here to let us know that there could be people that take care of their salah, and they're doing good things, but they're not watching this. But all of this has to go together. And the ism mawsul is continuing, like alladhina, which means we're still talking about al-musallin. This is all what Allah considers people who pray. I have my definition of people who pray. Guys, I see in the masjid is musalli. This is Allah's definition of musalli. People who pray, they're constant in their prayer. In their minds they have a known right in their wealth. For those who ask, they guard their shame. إِلَّا عَلَىٰ أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ. Except for their own spouses, then they can have intimate relations. Or what their right hands possess, which we've talked about before. فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ. Then they're not to be blameworthy. No doubt about it. No blame can be put on them. فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ. Then whoever goes beyond those limits, pursues something else, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. Then they're the ones that have engaged in animosity. They've done an act of aggression. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. And those who, especially when it comes to the trusts they are entrusted with, أَمَانَاتِهِمْ, and the promises that they make, وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. They are particularly and constantly watchful. And ra'a actually means, it's in the meaning of shepherding. You know how a shepherd watches every one of his sheep? Ra'i is ra'in, ra'iyan, by the way. The page 6 of ra'in is what? Ra'in, ra'iyan, ra'in. And the jama' is what? Ra'una, ra'ina, ra'ina. That's what this is. Ra'a yar'a. This is fataha yaftahu. Right? So ra'un, they're shepherds over their promises. When a shepherd is taking care of his flock, he watches every little one of them. Even if a wolf takes away one, he's like, just one, I got 23 others, it's okay. He doesn't do that. He's constantly looking around. Anything that will come and attack any of my sheep. He's constantly looking. Constantly heading them in the right direction, steering them in the right direction. Every commitment you and I make is like that. Because we're people of salat. Because salat is a fulfillment of promise to Allah. Salah is an amana. Salah is a ahd. Salah is a promise to Allah and a trust with Allah that we're going to come and stand in front of Him. If you get indoctrinated into that, then you realize the value of all promises. You know, one of the summaries of our entire religion in the Quran is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. It's the summary of the entire religion. Those of you who have iman, fulfill binding agreements. We have a binding agreement with Allah, with His Messenger, with His book, with each other, with our parents, with our wife, with our children, husband, siblings, fellow neighbors. They're all binding agreements. At the end of the day, work, business contracts. They watch these agreements. So you become punctual. You become, careful in what you promise, the commitments you make. You get better at saying no. You get better at saying no. And younger folks, I'm telling you, especially like if you're going to do any kind of religious service, people appreciate what you're doing and say, can you do this? Can you do this too? Can you do this too? Can you come here? Can you come here? And you feel bad and you say, yeah, sure, yeah. Oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that. And guess what? You get burnt out before you know it, and you're not able to fulfill commitments. إِذَا قُلْتَ فِي شَيْءٍ نَعَمْ فَأَتْمِمْهُ. I don't know the rest. Do you know the rest? فَإِنَّ نَعَمْ دَيْنٌ عَلَى الْحُرِّ وَاجِبُ وَإِلَّا فَقُلْ لَا تَسْتَرِحْ وَتُرِحْ بِهِ لِأَلَّا يَقُولَ النَّاسِ أَنَّكَ كَاذِبُ. Don't put yourself in that position. Become really good at saying no. I've become really good at saying Sister Nida. Who in turn says no? It's easier. Brother, our youth really need help. Could you come visit our community? I know they need help. But inshallah better help than me. I can't. Why don't you care about us? And now, because we're really good at psychological manipulation, oh, I do care, so I guess yes. No. I mean, I care about them. I'll make dua for them on the plane. How about that? But no. You have to learn to say no. If you say yes, you better stick to it. And this is in all matters. And I don't bring it up in particular, like I won't bring it up to you when you violate an agreement, or when I violate an agreement. We don't bring it up to each other because we feel bad. But then the Arabs say, mu'atabatul ikhwan. What do they say? I don't know. Khayrun min faqdihim. Reprimanding a friend is better than losing a friend. And I tell you, I've experienced it. I've experienced friends who have agreements, and they don't fulfill their end of the agreement. And out of friendship, you don't say anything, and it gets worse. Until you end up losing the friendship itself. If you're going to have an agreement, fulfill it. And if it's not being fulfilled, remind the other gently, look, this is an agreement. You have to do your part. That's how it has to be. This is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. I keep whining about how the Muslims are like the worst, like most corrupt nations in the world and all of that. You've heard me rant about this enough times. But let's just look at ourselves here. We have to hold ourselves to a different business ethic, work ethic, corporate ethic, entrepreneurial ethic. Every engagement we make has to be on a different level. And you're supposed to be really cautious about honesty and dishonesty in every situation. My wife lost a phone and I went to get a new one for her, a replacement phone. And he said, you have to, pay extra, this, that, because you're still, you're not eligible for an upgrade, blah, 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 all the jargon they use, right? He says, but I could do one thing. I could report your own phone lost and you can replace that one because that one's insured. That way you won't have to pay anything. I was like, don't do that, man. That's a lie. Because you sure you could save yourself like $100? I was like, no, we don't do that. And somebody might just say $100. I mean, this is a technicality. Just a little call on the 800 number, report the other one lost or whatever. Who's going to know? What does this corporation care whether they saved $100 or missed $100? What do they care? You ended up more money in your pocket, so don't worry about it. No, we worry about it. Because we're not answerable to a corporation or to the IRS, or we're answerable to Allah, that's it. So you don't do shady things. This is part of your agreement too, to be truthful and honest. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. Then وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. And people who, when it comes to the testimony that they give, they stand upright, they do the testimony. This is interesting that Allah didn't say that they are truthful in their testimony. That's assumed already. Allah said they stand up and give testimony. In other words, if you see something happen and you know justice will not be served until you bear witness and say, no, I saw this crime happen, I was witness, and you speak out, you get over your fear and you stand up and you speak. Because you learn through salat to only fear Allah and therefore not fear anybody else. So when shahada time comes, you stand and give testimony. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. These are consequences of salat. What we're learning if you're really making salat, this is how it starts changing your personality. You speak out. Now what does that mean, speak out? Not just in court, guys, not just a mugging that you witnessed, but your mother said something wrong. Your mother said something wrong, and she's now using that to create a bigger fight in the family, and you were witness to it. You said, my mom, I can't say anything. Yes, you can. Doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful, but the truth is the truth. Sometimes family, we say family first. No, truth first. Truth first. Ibrahim a.s. didn't say family first. Rasulullah didn't say family first to Abu Talib. They didn't say family first. Truth and honesty first. You know the famous story of the mother and the daughter that were having a conversation inside behind closed doors? And Umar radiallahu anhu was passing by and he just overheard them. The mother was telling the daughter to pour more water into the milk. You know, I thought that was a Pakistani thing, but apparently it was happening in Medina. And she says no. The Amir al-Mu'mineen, forbade it. And she says, Amir al-Mu'mineen's not here. Actually, he was there. You could have just busted through the door right there. Here I am. But anyway, he was listening. He's not. She says, Allah is. She disobeyed her mother. And the mother didn't quote ayat from the Quran. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. She didn't do that. Again, put the water, do it. Nothing. They understood each other. Sometimes you have to remind the elders. Sometimes elders have to remind the young. This is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. It's hard. It's hard stuff. But that's life of a Muslim. Comes with salat. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. Not only are they constant on their prayers, they are the ones that guard, especially over the institution of their prayers, they guard them continually. They watch over them. They guard them means two things here. The first thing it means is the times of prayer. You create a protective perimeter around the times of prayer. Don't tell yourself after going to sleep at 2 in the morning, yeah, I'll get up for Fajr, I think. You didn't guard your prayer. You didn't care. It was no big deal. If I pray, well and good. If not, oh well, another Fajr gone. Swing and a miss. That's not guarding your prayer. Guarding your prayer means go to sleep. Guarding Fajr means go to sleep early at night. That's guarding Fajr. Guarding Isha means stop. It comes in, you pray. Don't take your time. Oh, there's time for Isha. Fajr's like 8 hours away. I got time for Isha. Oh, maybe a little nap, then I'll pray Isha. Just a little nap, I'm tired. I mean, you wouldn't want me to pray tired, would you? Because then I can't concentrate. And you wake up, Fajr's 5 minutes left. Now it's time for Isha. This is you guarding your prayer. The moment it comes in, pray. Don't delay it. You'll mess up. You'll just mess up. Don't keep looking out at the sky at Maghrib. You're sitting there chatting. Oh, it's still kind of blue. No, it's bluer. Don't do that. That's not guarding the salah. The other meaning of this is what we learned. We started with al-musallin and we saw these characteristics, which according to this passage were all made characteristics of people of prayer. So guarding the prayer to this person who understands this, guarding the prayer to them has a new definition now. It's guarding all of these things. That's how I guard my prayer. How am I guarding my prayer and I'm still a cheater, I'm untrustworthy, and I don't fulfill my promises, and I don't watch my eyes, I don't protect my farj, and how am I guarding my prayer? And these ayat aren't even about the true believers. This is about just people who pray. Al-Musallin. People of Salat is one part of our Iman. One part of what we're supposed to do. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, where there's a similar passage, the qualities being described are of people of Iman, al-mu'minun. Here, this is all just qualities of people who make salat. And there in Surah Al-Mu'minun, at the end, you get the highest Jannah. What's the highest Jannah? أُولَٰئِكَ يَرِثُونَ الْفِرْدَوْسِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Here in this passage, you're not offered Jannah, you're told the fire peels the skin off of people. And it calls them, except the people who pray. You know, it's not, Jannah isn't talked about first. What's talked about first here is, these are the people who don't burn in hell because they pray. Salat is their protection. And here's how Salat protects them, because it protects the rest of their character. Then Allah at the end says, أُولَٰئِكَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ مُكْرَمُونَ. Those are the people that are going to be in multiple gardens, honored. In every garden they go, they're going to be honored. مُكْرَمُونَ اسم مفعول.
السماء جلالا فأزيد أسراب الغيوم جمالا وألون الدنيا بأجمل بسمة وأكون للخير العميم مثالا أسمو وأجتاز السماء جلالا فأزيد أسراب الغيوم جمالا وألون الدنيا بأجمل بسمة وأكون للخير العميم مثالا